artificial intelligence on how to reveal me a glimpse of the glitch of the simulation. Wouldn't that be a real trip? Oh, let's take it together to find out how we can manipulate the script for just long enough for it to cause a chain reaction, no type of effect on the code to cause a reboot to awaken them from the same.
With lots of hail. It lasted, well, the thunderstorm lasted a while, but the hail sort of melted quite quickly, but it looked a bit Christmassy.
I miss the Maltese thunderstorms, I really do. That's one thing I do miss.
We haven't had a single thunderstorm since we've been here.
You don't get a lot over there.
Maybe
Lots of
one.
rain, but no thunder or lightning.
Loads.
Yeah, it's great outside day. I'm killing my inner Eeyore today because that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere?
I can't find my tail.
Is there any warm, dry part on the planet? Because this global warming sucks. Everything's cold and wet.
Cold and wet. Yeah. Yay.
So funny, they've got this brand new article. Everybody's all hot to trot about it today. Is that the UK judge has ruled that Julian Assange will not be extradited to the US. I mean, if you read the articles, there's a lot of stuff that's really interesting about it. Like, does that mean like he won't be extradited yet because there's talk about Donald Trump pardoning him for his like legacy for his presidency? Does it mean that he's going to be just fucking left here in the prison to be fucked over by like the maximum sentence that could be thrown at him is like 75 years? But I was just reading an article and they're saying that he could do maximum or 63 months possibly for it. So
in England. Oh, and the reason why the judge has ruled that he cannot be extradited to the US is because he's
his fragile health.
His
mostly.
fragile emotional and mental health would make it very strong possibility that he would commit suicide.
Yeah.
Like as Nick said,
Epstein suicide type thing.
Get him to the US and suddenly commit suicide. Yeah,
we know how to deal with them in our prison system here.
I like it sort of backs up Andrew sharing the idea that there's a behind the scenes global coup d'etat type of thing going on. And it's like, it seems the faction's like, no, we won't send him over there. He may die. We'll keep him here and keep him alive just for years.
Just barely alive in solitary confinement.
That's the British way. We don't kill them. We're not American.
Anybody's seen Seven? There was that one dude on the bed that was there for a year. That's what they're going to do to him.
Yeah. We didn't kill him. I mean, he's wasted away to a skeleton and he can't move and he has no cognitive thought, but he's alive.
I thought he was already extradited to the US.
No. That's been the big controversy. And it's been ongoing for the last couple of months and no one's been talking about it because everyone's all election, COVID. All of a sudden, Julian Assange has just kind of like poof, disappeared.
Well, like Roger Waters actually sung at the front like at a protest and he sung Wish You Were Here. Now, if you don't know who Roger Waters is, you have something great to figure out. Like, he's from Pink Floyd, got hardly any, apart from RT, no media coverage at all. Yeah. It's fucking Roger Waters playing, like, he's known.
He's kind of famous.
Yeah, he's still working.
He's not dead famous, he's actual famous.
Yeah. I missed him, I think, last year because now 2020, the year out of time, but in 2019, he did that tour, but it was all, he was pushing the whole I don't like Trump angle. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I don't want to get 2.5 hours of it. Your music's awesome. And like, but he's being political. Have you read any of his lyrics since the 70s?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, shall we start off on a weird note? We're going to start off on a weird note. Welcome to the UnFuckIt discussion, everyone. We're already talking. as usual. I need coffee for this one. So yesterday morning, we woke up and our gas had gone off. So I said to Nick, oh shit, the gas has gone off. Nick went to go look at the meter. Sure enough, we're out of gas. So he's like, oh fuck, okay, fine. And our gas and electric meter is in a cabinet at ground, like floor level, right at the front door where you walk in. And the cards that you use for top ups, so we have like pay as you go gas and electric, right? So the cards that we use are always on top of the meters. Always. Have never been moved anywhere else. As soon as they're topped up, you come back from the shop, you take it, you feed it into the machine, and you put it on top of the meter. Nick goes in. No cards.
The card and the key.
The card and the key. One's a key, one's a card, right? Whatever. They're gone. So you start looking like on the floor under the meters, look through like the shoes that are on the floor in front of the meters, around the meter box. Long story short, we spent 2 hours, searched the entire house, every pair of pants, every jacket, every coat, every bin, every drawer, even places where it would be impossible. Called up a friend of ours who'd been over visiting because he had a little guy who's 2 and said, look, can you just humor me, go check just in case Todd had like opened up and you don't know. It was like, nope, gone through, these have disappeared, completely vanished. So Nick had to spend like 2 hours on foot running up and down the road, going back and forth to the house, got new keys, new card, got them topped up. 2 hours later, we're okay. That's fucking weird. Still don't know where they are. They've never reappeared. No fucking clue. And there's no logical answer. No logical answer because, like I said, the last time Nick had topped up just before Christmas, he had shown me how to top.
Put them back right in front of her.
And as he was putting the key back up, the key kept falling down. So it was like kind of like 3 times you had to pick it up, put it back. So there's specific memory of them being put back there. So fast forward to yesterday evening. I'm sitting on the couch reading, and we have like a padded stool, and Logan's sitting next to me on the stool, 3 foot away. And he's been munching on something. So I turned to him and said, what are you eating? He's like, I'm eating sunflower seeds. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm reading. Logan does not move. He doesn't get up. He doesn't go anywhere. He's sitting there. He reaches his hand down to go get a sunflower seed and goes, who took my sunflower seeds? Who took my sunflower seeds? And he's like yelling at Kale, who's on the other side of the living room on the computer.
Hasn't gone near him.
No one has, it is me and the boys in the living room, and you were there.
Yeah.
Not one of us has gotten up and moved. The girls are upstairs in the room. No one has moved an inch. Logan stands up. His bowl of sunflower seeds has vanished. I'm like, dude, you didn't even get up. Where did they spill? Pull out the stool. Look at, no. They're in the kitchen on the counter. On the other, like, no one moved in the room. No one moved in the room. So I was trying to get a hold of Amina to get permission. So I'm going to tell the story anyway. Sorry, Amina, I'm telling your story. Amina, her son, same thing. They come in the house. They have one place where the keys always go to the house. It's one of those things where, everyone always puts their keys in the exact same spot every time we walk in the house. Goes to go out. He's got no keys. He can't find his keys. Cannot find them anywhere. So he goes to the store to go buy coffee. Meanwhile, Amina's having a cup of tea, right? Says an hour after he comes back to the store with coffee, she goes to make coffee, goes into the kitchen, and his keys are sitting on the top of the tea canister. So she says to him, where are your keys still lost? And he's like, yeah, no, I still can't find them. And she was like, they're right here on the tea canister. But in the time that he's been gone to the shop where he couldn't find the keys, she's made tea. And obviously, they were not on the tea canister when she went to make tea, because she would have been like, oh, look, there's his keys here. Vanished. vanished. Like you sit there and you go, what the fuck? What the, okay, I don't have the
Fucking
chat.
Little green men are coming up everywhere.
I keep joking, those little blue men who cartoon reality are obviously still drunk from New Year's, because holy shit.
One possibility, but I'm probably wrong because it's clearly ghosts. Is like because it's my cat doesn't have stuff missing. She goes missing, but I'm only one person in my house, and so whatever's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff's going on, it's just me. But how
Are
many
you a
people live
creature
in
of
your
habit?
place? Six. You got
Yeah, there's
how many
6 in
people-
our house.
Yeah, so you got 6 timeline wibbly wobbly timey wimeys going on, and so it's just like, reality's going, fuck, just pick one,
Are you a creature of habit?
sort of.
See, I am fucking anal when it comes to certain things. Like certain things have their place and nobody
Yes.
touches them. And that's the way that life has to go on when you have this many
When you
people in the
have
house.
4 kids in the house, you have to have
My
set
concept
places.
is super lazy. Like I clean up a mess because I've done it so long. I clean up a mess straight away because it's just going to get worse, and I put everything back so I don't have to remember. So like the keys go there, and it's that level of super lazy where it's like I'm slightly OCD. Like, oh, the remote's out of whack, and so if something is
Move it 2 inches to the right.
yeah, it's just like just an inch, just half an inch. It's like that. Oh, that's pissing me off. But if anything is moved around or it's out of place, I instantly know, and it's like, okay, it's 5D. Someone's fucking with me. Something. It's
But
just
this is okay. So I've had a shit ton of things move out of place, disappear, to turn up in the wrong place, and I'm yelling at everyone in the house. Right? Like this has been all week. I've been yelling at people. Who put the mixer here? The mixer doesn't go here.
Nobody touched it.
But here's the thing: is you got 6 people in the house, people putting away dishes when the dishes are washed, etc. You sit there and you go, okay, someone's just put it in the wrong place. Hence the fact that I'm yelling at people, going, why is my ceramic dish here? It doesn't go here. But those last 2, with the cards and Logan's sunflower seeds, no one moved. Like no one moved. He was right next to me the whole time. I heard him eating the sunflower seeds, and then they just.
But hasn't this
vanished.
been happening since before you moved there? Like, my memory could be just
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
like it just disappeared, and then 3 days later, oh, I'm here, and like, wow.
But this has been this was all in one day,
Yeah.
and then
it's
when
very
Amina sent
noticeable.
me the message talking about her little bit with the keys, I'm like,
The strangest bit is when they reappear and they weren't
Yeah.
there.
they weren't there.
Like that's always when it's because I mean it's pretty easy to rationalize even if they disappear. Like, okay, well, I don't know what happened, but then when they reappear and you're like, they weren't on that table.
Yep.
Like I picked up every item on that table. Like they weren't there
Yep.
before.
The table's clean, empty. Yeah.
And I don't know about anybody else, but when I lose something, it creates a mental itch that just cannot be scratched. And it drives me fucking crazy until it's found again, because I hate losing shit. Like, I never lose my car keys. I have a lighter. Nobody fucks with my lighter. It never goes missing. Nobody. And my shit.
You said it. Now it's gonna go
Oh,
missing.
fuck, man. Anyway, my shit stays really organized. And when I lose something, it makes me fucking mental.
When was the full moon? Because I'm just wondering if
It was
things
last
4 or 5
week.
days ago.
Yeah, it was like last week.
Yeah. On my Saturday, yay, time travel. I can't remember going to sleep. My snap nap, I just wake up at 11:30 at night going, almost said, when am I? Because I can't remember going to bed, because I've realized if I'm getting sleepy, I'm going to go lie down before I headbutt the table. And so I woke up like, okay. And then I think a day later or a day after, I found another energy shift or timeline, something. Opened the back door for my cat, and the entire backyard, or a section of the backyard, which was green, was yellow. I'm speaking very basically, where it's like, this
Your
looks
grass
new.
just died.
Oh, well, I've got like a pile of crap that's slowly dying, but it shouldn't go from green to orange. And it's just, yeah, I've in the last couple of days, I've felt something shift where like I don't know if my antenna's been like the frequencies picked up a better signal. Like, you know, hold on, hang on to the coat hanger and put your arm up. Oh, that's perfect. Don't move.
Don't move forever.
Yeah.
I have one. So I'm in my room. I go out my room because I have to, go to the bathroom. Come back from the bathroom, and here it is while my light is flickering like crazily. Now it shouldn't be flickering. It wasn't flickering when I left. When I come back, it's flickering. So then I had to.
Did your house get struck by lightning while you were in the toilet?
We didn't have that winter lightning, and so my dad changed it and it stopped. But yeah, it was weird. Yeah.
No, there's been a real weird energy. I mean, there always is. I've been talking to Anne and Gail about this all week because it's year after year after year when we get from that 21st of December to like that first week of January, there's always fuckery. There's always weirdness. There's always shit that happens in the news that because everyone's distracted by Christmas and New Year's, that they slip into the news, little announcements, bits and pieces. But then you have other weird shit that happens, and you're just, all of us, we had about 3-4 days where everyone was just offside, like they were tired, they couldn't, I couldn't think straight, like could not concentrate. I've read 3 books in the last 4 days because that's pretty much been my level of like cognizance.
I mean, if we're trading weird stories, the second weirdest thing to happen to me ever in my life happened about a month ago. And it was about like midnight. And like I live with my parents and they go to bed really early, right? And I go to, I'm like, oh, I want some popcorn, right? So I go to, and like midnight is nothing for me. Like I stay up really late. So like not tired, not drinking, not just totally sober, go and, make some popcorn. And in my head, I'm thinking like, like I'm trying to be super quiet, but I'm like really hungry, so like.
But you're going to make popcorn, which is going to be loud.
Well, like, the microwave at the very end. So like, you make sure you pull it out before the beeps. Anyway, but like, I'm thinking like, no matter what I do, they're going to come out and they're going to be like, and like, oh, what do you do? And so sure enough, like predicted, like, my parents come, shambling into the kitchen, like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, sorry, like, was I being loud? I'm just making some popcorn. And for some reason, there was like a random person behind them. But I was like, my parents are really religious and sort of like a leader of like, my mom's like a leader of their women's group. So it was like this woman. So maybe I'm like, okay, well, maybe like this random lady is having like house troubles or something, like home troubles. And she's like staying the night and they didn't tell me. I don't know. Weird. But like, I didn't want to be like, who are you? Obviously, in the middle of the night. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm like, okay. And she was like, okay, well, they're like, okay, well, just stay safe or something. I'm like, okay. And then, I go back to my room and whatever, and don't really think much of it. And the next day, like, I expected to be some conversation about this because I'm like, who the hell was that? It was, over so late. But there wasn't, and I'm like, okay. And it wasn't until like later that day, it wasn't even until the next day that I was like, wait a second, that was weird. Like, we never even talked about it. And so I was like, who was with you the night, I woke up and woke you guys up making popcorn? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, remember on Tuesday when I was making popcorn and I woke you guys up and you guys asked me what I was doing? And they're like, no. we didn't wake up. Like, and like my mom has sleep issues, so like she tracks vehemently like what night she gets good sleep, and she was like, I went to bed super early that night. Like I did not wake up.
Timeline crossover? Something
Yeah.
weird?
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Anyone felt cold last night? Like weirdly ass cold?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
We were freezing.
Yeah.
I kept turning up like because we've got furnaces here are very strange and they're very different from North America. You get used to it, but we can set the time. Like we just click out the little buttons of when to turn the furnace on, right? It doesn't come on automatically. And I literally kept going all day and putting it on more, putting it on more, putting it on more, checking it, and had Nick check it. I'm like, I was so cold. I had 2 hoodies on. I went to bed yesterday in middle of the afternoon with a hot water bottle just to be able to try and get my feet warm.
You know, for me, it was yesterday like as if some fucking ghost was hugging me all the time, like literally taking my feet in the hands, like freeze to death, motherfucker, freeze.
Yes.
oh, one more detail. For anyone that thinks, oh, that was probably just a really vivid dream, like I thought about that, and so I checked my garbage can, and there was still the bag of popcorn in there.
So
that
you did have the popcorn.
So like
You-
I did have the popcorn. That was an experience. So I was like, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's been
So
cold
weird.
down here. Like 14 degrees Celsius in summer.
That's
During the
insane.
day.
Like that's
Yeah.
insane where you are. Melbourne last year, people were roasting.
on
Like
fire. We're on fire. But
well, okay, yeah,
apparently,
you were literally on fire, but I mean they were also hot.
yes. It's not El Nino, it's the other one, El something. And it's a cold depression, and we've had a lot of rain, hardcore rain, and my cat freaks out. I don't want to go
La
outside.
Nina.
No, it's not El Nino, it's the other one. There's more than one.
Oh, fuck
but
you.
it's
Oh, fuck you. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Oh,
basically,
fuck
yeah.
you.
summer, cold. And that's why I started at the conversation is like, is there any warm, dry bits on the planet at the moment? Because everything seems to be cold and wet.
Yeah, we've had snow multiple times over the last. Was it
I
last
built
night?
the motherfucking
Last
biggest
night.
snowball I've
No.
ever built in my life in the park across the yard the other day. Some kids kicked all the other snowballs apart. Not mine. They can't touch it, motherfucker.
It's about 4 foot around and 4 foot tall. He rolled it until the point where at the end it was all of us
300-400
pushing it to keep
pounds.
rolling it.
So it's an Indiana Jones size
Fuck
snowball.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
River you
Oh
size.
yeah. But we had this big thing, big beautiful flakes of big fluffy flakes of snow came. So we're at 9 o'clock at night. We were outside in the dark at the park having a snowball fight and making snowmen. It's what you do when you're Canadian, I guess, in England.
Speaking of Indiana Jones, so I was watching the first bit of the first one. I don't remember Indy going in to the temple with another person.
Yeah, because the other guy.
Oh, Earl, I saw
killed.
that
Doc
too.
Ock from fucking the Spider-Man movies. One of his first
That's
roles.
right. It's the guy who plays Doc Ock from the Spider-Man movie. It's
Can't
one of
remember
his
his name.
very, very
But,
first
yeah.
movies.
Slight irony, he's covered in tarantulas as well, remember? So he's got to wipe off this. He only gets halfway. No, Indy gets the idol, puts the bag of sand, and then starts to run. And then throw me the whip, or throw me the idol, then throw me the whip. And he goes, no, and leaves Indy behind and runs with the idol. And he forgets about the spears coming through, and that's how he gets killed.
Yeah.
I
Quinley.
told her she said.
Allegedly in my timeline when I saw the movie.
See, I don't remember that. I remember just Indy being in there.
No, so in my it's always been the two because that's one of the major parts of it is throw me the idol. No, and he gets betrayed, and the guy gets gets killed, and then the other guy, the French guy, gets the idol.
It's been long enough. How awesome is Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian?
Yes.
My God. Is it wrong to say I got slightly aroused when I saw that scene?
Most people usually cried, but you know, you're you.
Couldn't help it, man. It was like fucking X-Wing. And then I knew it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, that's good. People, there's a big YouTuber called Star Wars Theory. He's got like 3.5 million people on YouTube, and a couple of employees of Lucasfilm gave him grief because he showed emotion because he did a watch along and was starting to cry, like most of us, because we're human. And that in the last 7 days, that was the big thing in fandom. It's like, how can a member, an employee of Lucasfilm, is attacking one of the biggest YouTubers on Star Wars because he had an emotional reaction to Luke Skywalker turning back up, and everything went off.
That doesn't even make sense. Like, I'm sorry, but that was everyone. Put the meme up the very next day. Well, I'm not crying. You're crying, right? I mean, everyone in our house was teary-eyed at that part.
Who's
anyone
cutting
If you
who
on
don't know
the
what we're
last-
talking about, you need to go watch The Mandalorian.
Anyone who hates The Last Jedi cried because it's like, that's the Luke we've been waiting for 30 years.
This is what Star Wars is supposed to be.
Exactly.
But did you guys hear that they already are pissed off? I mean, like the crew that made like the last Star Wars movies, they are already pissed off that Luke is back there. Ooh, toxic masculinity. We got to make it all female.
Fuck.
And you notice how well Hollywood has done in their movies in the last year. This is, I mean, Wonder Woman 1984 is another perfect example of that in the fucking
Yeah,
feminist agenda,
1984.
how sick people are of having that rammed down their throat in their
Yep.
fucking movies that they want to watch. Like, I just want to be entertained. I don't want to be fucked with.
We had a
Not to talk
conversation,
about
Nick and I, just recently, and it was someone posted something that made me sad. A meme that came by that makes you think and goes, in the last 20 years, name any sitcom where the male role as a father is a positive role model, is not a complete fucking idiot, and a moron. Go.
And,
Name me
and
one
he's not
sit-
overweight.
And he's, yeah, like he's not a beastly overweight, stupid, idiotic, etc. Name me one sitcom in the last 20 years.
I would put forward Tim Allen in Not the Man Standing, The Last Man Standing. I haven't seen it, but he
Is that a
seems to be-
sitcom?
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good. It's
Oh, I
Tim
haven't seen
Allen.
it.
he falls into it falls into the conservative side of it. So it's similar to Roseanne, where that's why I got canned, because it doesn't follow the Hollywood leftist crap.
Ah, okay. So I don't know. I've never even heard of that one. Like that's never even heard of that. We went through, and I went back, said, okay, never mind the last 20 years. Go back 30 years. Look at in the cartoon realms, right? So you've got Homer Simpson.
Mhm.
You've got the
Russell's dad was a great dad.
no, yeah, but what's his name from
Family Guy.
Family Guy?
Peter
Who's
Griffin.
a complete
Peter Griffin, yeah.
fucking idiot. Then there
Al
was
Bundy, just saying. He wasn't a great role model, but he wasn't fat. He wasn't an idiot.
he was an idiot. Al Bundy was completely a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
Like,
he was
I went
he was
back
an
and said-
angry loser who became an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, if you literally think about it, like I sat there and was like going all the way back into the 90s. It was like, there was, what's his name from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? His uncle was,
Uncle
he was
Phil.
very, very overweight, but he was a very smart man. He was very with it. He was very together.
Positive role model.
A very positive role model. Like, you know, he looked after
He's a
his
lawyer.
family, etc.
Yeah.
Can we retroactive
Cosby Show
the-
is pretty much as
Cosby?
far back as I went, and it was just like, is that not a sad statement of society that the last real kind of iconic stand-up dad
Yeah, but
is
think
Bill
about
Cosby?
But think about Bill Cosby. I mean, seriously, he had like in his basement, gin. What do you call it in English? Like that doctor he was in a fucking basement, right? And all these subtle things like drugging.
No,
and shit.
yeah, bossy, I get that. No, trust me, I get that. I'm just saying, as far as a
He
positive
was one
male,
of the least of the fucking offensive
he was
ones, yeah.
smart. He looked after his family.
He's
He
not-
was very responsible.
He's not Uncle Iroh. Let's say
He's
that.
not Uncle Iroh, definitely not. But this is what I'm saying. Like when I sat, and it was a stunning revelation to me. Like when you actually try to think about it, and you go, there are none. Like the portrayal of fathers by Hollywood, the portrayal of it's unbelievable. Like,
What
it's
a
so
family unit it is.
it's a portrayal of what a family unit is. Let's take the piss. Let's all make it's nothing.
It's
Home
kind of the
Improvement, I was-
reversal of, like, you know how, like, in Bambi, in other movies and shows where, TV shows where the father's around, but the mother's not around. It's kind of like that, where there's an absence of something there, you know, that should be there, but it's not there.
Like, yeah, Home Improvement, Tim Allen, it's very male-esque. It's not toxic masculinity, but that the character that works. So you sort of put that to the side.
Yeah.
But you're going back to, as Pegasus said, yeah, Family Ties.
Family.
Even
Everyone loves
Crime
Raymond.
Team. Yeah,
Right?
like Emily, right. Even different strokes, showing
Yeah.
my age.
Yep. But this is it. Like, but in the last,
You have to stretch it, though,
you
to
have
get
to
back that
stretch
far.
it. Like, you're going back. Now we're going back. We're talking different strokes. Now we're talking about going back to the 70s.
Different generation.
Yeah.
Completely different generation, right? So yeah, like, it's an incredible sad commentary, and it's subtle. And the fact of, like I said, that meme went by, it's not something you think about. I bitch and moan about The Simpsons, about Family Guy, those kind of shows, but I hadn't thought about just how pervasive it is within that Hollywood genre of TV shows.
Flanders is ripped.
Red
Like,
Foreman
I'm all
in that
for,
70s
like-
show.
Flanders.
Yeah.
There's always Flanders.
Flanders, yeah, but
Like,
The,
I'm all for diversity and representation and everything, but it's like, can we just all relax a little bit? Like, you know
Yep.
what I mean? Like there has to be, like, I mean, if it's always all about diversity and representation and all these other things, then you never get, it's still not very equal. You know, like,
yep.
like
You can never
Because it
make
becomes
equal.
it becomes counter equal, if you
Well,
will.
It's
What-
not
what was it?
character-based. It's
What-
basically, I'm gay. What else do you do? No, that's it.
Didn't
Well-
Paris had a problem like this, that they had hired too many women in official positions, and
Yeah.
somehow they got sued? Yeah, and somehow they got sued for having too many women. So see, you can't make anyone happy. Let's
It's
go
not that,
back
it's
to
just
the
that
old
this-
system
The golf syndrome
to
in
where.
humanity, right? You step.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
anybody
but-
hears
but
a
you see-
golfer, the putting syndrome, where you step up to the green and you go, okay, I got to make this shot, and you either, if it's a long shot, you fucking shoot it way fucking shy, and then you way overdo it on the next one, and that's what we do as a society. We fucking swing
Yeah,
from
exactly.
one side to the
Pendulum
other. We
swing.
never want to walk the middle.
No, you can't.
But
You gotta
seriously,
pick
my
the middle.
my issue today is, why can't we get back to the idea that the most capable people should do the jobs they
The
apply
capable
for,
job-
right? Like,
Exactly.
I don't give
That's
a
what we talked
shit
about
if
last
that's
week.
a gay person, a lesbian person, a trans person, a black person, an Asian person, what have you, right? I wouldn't even have such a problem if there would be aliens coming here and we would be fine
As
with
long
them.
as they keep their fucking agenda themselves, that's fine.
right?
Yeah,
No
something
alien
like that.
agendas.
It's like not
That's-
everything needs to be a political commentary or some
Bang.
kind of, like, just whatever, like, do something that works, and if it works, like,
Well,
Yeah,
we
they
talked
did that
about it.
with
Like,
the latest Star Wars film, the Rise of Skywalker. We've got a female director. Awesome. Is she good? I've got this weird thing. I heard Martin Luther King point out, like, I dream where my kids are based on their character and not by their skin. And you can see now
Exactly.
where
but now it's.
on Netflix, I'll end here on
I
Netflix.
know where you're going. I know where you're
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Go
Now
ahead.
they've got, I think it was Candace Owens who pointed this out. They're starting to segregate again because of its identity politics, where we've got a black channel and we want a black anthem and a black thing. And it's like, you people are
That's
idiots.
segregation.
Yeah.
And just fucking 30, 40 years ago, that wasn't cool.
Like, if anyone, this is it. Black movies on Netflix, and that was the comment. There was black movies on Netflix, and then there was another example of something that was being pushed that it had to be, and it's segregation. And the fact that they're actually brainwashing people into this. It's like, but like Martin Luther King, like you said, he rolled over in his grave.
Mm.
Like, what are you doing? Holy
No, I mean,
shit.
imagine he would be alive for a day today. He would be called out all the bad things he actually fought.
Could you?
In an
Okay, I
instant.
mean, fuck. There's a lot of people that would be really disgusted to step into the world we have today.
Mhm.
Like, for example, could you imagine George Washington stepping into Congress right now and just having a look around and going, "What the actual fuck?
What are you
This is why we
fuckers
made
doing?
the Second Amendment." Or, yeah, exactly like you say. Or Nikola Tesla coming back to life and going, "This is what you have created with
In
what
my
I've given you,
name?"
for fuck's sake."
Washington would call them platoons. You platoons. He has actually said that word.
Yep. This is
I bet he would sue Tesla today.
Yeah, probably.
Possibly.
This
I-
is what you're
I've
doing in
seen
my
a meme.
name, motherfuckers.
You shared a meme a couple of times, and I think it's from Hamilton. Let's not even bring that musical up. It's like he's black. Clearly, that's so historic. I'm sure it's good, but anyway, it's a quote where he's talking to, I think, Thomas Jefferson, but it's one of the founding fathers talking to another founding father, and he basically says there is 1,335,612 words in the English language, and I cannot pick one that will express me that I want to throw a chair at you.
There's probably a German word for it. Bazzi, is there a German for it? Because there's got to be a German word for that.
the Germans have got the
You-
best descriptive terms.
You need to be specific.
I
You're
hate
so
you so
angry,
much, I
you
want to throw a chair at you in
someone.
German.
Monty, that sounds like a wrestling promo.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, as a
The
German,
George, sorry, but the George Washington, what you said about George Washington, I was thinking the exact same thing before you even said it.
Yeah.
I like the letters. That's the one thing that we have from that era. Especially, I think I mentioned this a couple of times. You read the letters from the Civil War, and apparently these are dirt farmers that have nothing to live for, and they're fighting for an ideal. And yet, you need a dictionary to read one of their letters because you
Yeah.
have no idea. Or it's so elegant and like it's written so well. It's like
or
yeah,
look
but you
at
go
the
to certain
handwriting.
yeah, it's all cursed. You know, in certain parts of, not sure about it, but education, they stopped teaching cursive writing or script
They have.
because it ignites the imagination because you actually have to figure out what all the squirrely bits are. So it's like, oh wow. So if you want to freak out young people, hand them a bit of cursive writing. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, and I agree with you. And not only that, if you take away cursive writing, then they can't go back and read the official old documents, can they? We
No.
have now an entire generation who cannot go back and read the Declaration of Independence
Mm.
or any of these old handwritten documents. There'll be one of the women in one of the canning groups I'm in found a recipe book from her great aunt or something from the 20s and found like inside the recipe book there was like handwritten recipes on paper. And she was saying her kids couldn't read it because it's all cursive. It's all handwritten cursive on the fly. So kind of scrawly, like what you would write in the kitchen to yourself, your own notes. Hold on. Okay, Kelsey, this is new. Latest news, Scotland will be placed in lockdown for January with a legal requirement to stay at home. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has announced at the Scottish Parliament. Well, the head of Labour, I think it was the head of Labour, and don't hold me to that. Someone from the Labour government, so the opposition government in the UK, demanded yesterday that Boris Johnson lock all of England down into a full lockdown immediately as of today. And Boris Johnson was, well, you know,
Yeah, because he knows his fucking head's gonna roll if he does.
well, there was just a big poll saying that if Boris Johnson's seat in Parliament was up for election right now, not only would he lose the election, he would lose his own seat in Parliament. That's how pissed the people are at him.
This reminds me of George Washington. If he came back, it's like, I went to war for 3%. What are you people doing?
I mean,
It's
over
crazy.
here, we had a press conference this morning where they literally told the people into the camera, yeah, this is an extraordinary situation and we all got to learn from it. Yes, we're going to make mistakes, but we're going to learn from them. And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, you can say that if you are a trainee in a job, right? But if you are in politics and you are handling shit that impacts people,
Millions and millions of people?
not got to learn, you have to have that already before you become an official person that fucks with the lives of people, right? Like, I mean, I still don't get it how people not lynching these people after they destroyed our entire economy in the West. And then for a thing that is literally 1% deadly, and they are forcing everyone to take a vaccine that has more than 1% side effects for 1% outcome to be
Yes.
safe.
Yeah.
I'm
So it's
beginning
gonna
to feel that they literally can't. Meaning,
In an-
like it get like the cognitive dissonance gets so strong that no matter what the story is, you literally cannot accept any other thing. But this has been real, and then no matter how crazy it gets, no matter how
They've
crazy
been
the
so
lockdown gets,
programmed.
like 'cause to admit that it might all be something other than what the narrative is requires you to.
Well, hang on.
You can't
And-
do it.
As to what Bazzi, sorry, I'm just going to take really quick. I'm past. Bazzi, what you were saying, in a military sense, you have the chain of command, right? And as a grunt in the military, you
Exactly.
are told that you must have absolute faith in the decisions of the officers.
Chain of command.
Even if
But you can't.
you know their decision is ass and you know they're not fucking supposed to be doing it, but that is their decision, that chain of command is infallible, because if you question, that's when it all starts to fall apart. The minute a fucking officer turns around and says, fuck, I don't know, or I'm not sure, that's when shit starts to really crumble, right? And in a society sense, it's the same fucking way. When we have our leaders of our society, it kind of operates on that sense of, hey, these guys are infallible, because that's what the fucking media makes us believe, right? But in a very real sense, exactly like you're saying, when a society gets to the point of them saying, we're not sure and we're going to use you guys as a test subject for the most part, that's when fucking shit starts to fall apart.
But
Okay.
Nick, isn't the worst part of this all, like, go back 100 years? Like, we were in the West trying to educate people to the degree that they are self-sufficient, right? That they can make their own decisions. So go back to now. What do we learn today in school? Nothing. You learn to be self-sufficient, to make your own decisions as a grown-up person, right? See, and this is the stuff that really fucks with me. Like, especially this authority where you can already see through, and you know they are idiots. You know they literally always tend to do the wrong decisions that only benefit them and not us. So how the fuck should I follow a person that I can't even trust as far as I can throw them?
and then it gets worse because they fail upwards. You see it in Hollywood where they get rewarded for failure. Like, oh, that didn't work, I'll give you a promotion. And that's been happening in the last couple of decades as well, where it's in Hollywood as well as
Financial
politicians.
circles as well.
Yeah, and everything. Basically, it's the elite sort of thing of like, oh well, you didn't do that well, so we'll give you a reward, a promotion, and you can do this thing. It's like, well, didn't Boris Johnson be extremely racist when he was the mayor of London and shit like that? And he ended up being prime minister. And I think what we're seeing as well, like they're trying to control the narrative, and it's an example is Danny. I sent you that article that I saw today about the UV.
Yeah.
As an example, they're allowing information to come through when they can control it, because Trump said it 6-9 months ago and got laughed at. This is just one.
He's talking about an article about using ultraviolet light to sterilize and airflow for COVID-19. Trump said that was in the springtime, and everyone made fun of him. And now it's in Australian news that that's what they're looking to do: uses ultraviolet light for airflow circulation in the.
By the way, guys, do you remember specifically Trump with what was it called? Hydrochloroquine.
Chloroquine, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this stuff. I saw like a few weeks ago a doctor that came up and had a funny finding, especially treating patients with that and zinc. So the doctor found out that cancer cells get attacked once you take that stuff in, because your normal cells won't let anything in and are protected against the virus, but the virus is stupid. So what is taking the virus in? It is cancer cells. So cancer cells die while you're taking that shit because there's no other way for the virus to get in. So technically, a healthy person that has no cancer should be faster back up, and the person that has cancer should be taking a little bit slower because the virus could, multiply. But yet the person would be cancer free theoretically once that virus is out of the system and you stop taking that hydroxychloroquine, whatever. But the interesting point was, a few days later, one of the big companies that produces that stuff goes up in flames.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Funny
Exactly.
story about that medication. Okay, I went to the Congo in 2008 and 2009, and that's a malaria country, right? And that medication you're talking about that I won't even try to say is a malaria,
HCQ.
is a malaria medication. Now, I had my doctor in Toronto tell me before I went, look, I'm going to give you a script for this and I'm going to give it to you, but it really can fuck with you if you take it. It can screw with your digestive system. It can do a lot of bad things to your body if you take this medication. So I'm recommending that you only take it if you need to, right? And then when I got to the Congo, and I'd been there for a while and I'd had malaria, because the malaria you get there isn't nearly as bad as the medication. Couple of the Congolese doctors, they said the same thing to me. They're like, well, we give this medication to people, but it's a fucking hardcore medication and it really, really messes with your body. So it went from being one of those things that was commonly contraindicated by doctors saying, hey, this is not necessarily the greatest thing to be putting in your mouth, to fucking, hey, this is a miracle drug and all of these wonderful things. And the last time I had mentioned anything, like I just put up a thing in the fucking in the Unfuckers room about HCQ as a possible, like, hey, it's got some side effects, I got annihilated with all the people that were fucking all of a sudden HCQ believers because it was a miracle cancer cure. And I'm like, well, we'll see, because programming can fucking work weird ways.
Well, see,
But
this
the
is what I
programming
want.
on that one was really atrocious, because it goes back to what we said at the very beginning. COVID has a 1% mortality rate. And yet everyone was like jumping on this HCQ thing. Oh, we got to get it. We got to get it. Why? It has a 1% mortality rate.
Yeah, and if you're like,
one little point on the programming aspect that like really scares me is how powerful it is, because even with the people that have information, like people like my parents, like on the one hand, they know that vaccines are bad, right? And on the one hand, they know that, the virus is 99 point whatever percent, but yet in the same breath, they're like, oh, but they're talking with my sister, and oh, but you're with high risk people, so are you going to get the vaccine? And they're like, are you going to go get it? Like, despite knowing this, they default to, oh, but are you going to go get the vaccine? And like, even knowing that it has a high survivability rate, they default to, oh, but our so-and-so's friend had got COVID, so yeah, like we can't go over there. Or it's just like even
the programming,
like even knowing, it still defaults to the
fear programming.
And it's just like, that's what scares me.
If you look at, because Jimmy put up a thing about some of the latest things to come out about the vaccine, right? So a British government has just announced it'll be okay to mix vaccines. Yeah. So like if you started off taking the AstraZeneca one and you decide to go start taking the Oxford one, that's okay. You go ahead. You can mix two vaccines that no one's done any fucking studies on. Literally. The other one is the studies that they have, which are appalling, right? We know the studies that they put out, like the AstraZeneca especially, all kinds of big holes in the information, all kinds of missing information, data that's highly, highly suspect. But the studies were done on the person got the first vaccination, then waited 2 weeks and had the second vaccination. So therefore, if that's how it was studied and that's how it was released, then that's how it should be taken. As with any medication, it's, you know, it's put out in such a way as like, you know, like if you're going to take your Tylenol, you can only take it once every 8 hours. If you start taking it every 2 hours, right? The recommendations of how it's taken. Then they started to say things like, you know, oh, well, there could be a problem because people who will get the first vaccine, the side effects could encourage them to not get the second vaccine because they'd be afraid, because the side effects from the first one were so bad, they'd be afraid to go back and get the second one. But it was important.
It's a new type of technology.
Oh, totally. But not even looking at the fact that it's not even really a vaccine, right? So they needed to go, but you're supposed to go back within 2 weeks to get the second one. Then they announce, because they don't really have enough of those vaccines, oh, it'll be better if we just get everyone just the first one first, and then people can go back and get the second one 3 months later when we have more stock. No, that's not what the studies were about. That's not how they judged the efficiency. And as I said, we know that their studies and their entire rhetoric on these things was bullshit to begin with. But according to the studies, according to their research, they had to have it, and then 2 weeks later have the second vaccine. Not, gee, have the first one and then wait 3 months or 6 months when they have more of them to get the second one. That's not how it's supposed to work. But that they're putting that out now. Oh, no. Well, it'll be, and now the fact of this next one's coming out, and they're like, well, if someone wants to get the first AstraZeneca and then they decide to switch over to the other one, that's fine too.
And what's weird about that all is that you can explain that to someone, right? And they'll agree with you, and they'll be like, yeah, that sounds messed up. And then like literally 10 minutes later, they're like, oh my God, like, when do I get the vaccine? Like,
I'll get the next one.
I like the bit of information where like, oh, if you get the vaccine, you may get it. It may give it to you, so you still have to wear masks. And it brings the question of why have it in the first place?
Exactly. As we said, it's got a 99% survival rate.
And not only
less
that, the
than
infection
1%.
rate is fucking low. So that 99% survival rate is a misleading metric because it doesn't
Exactly.
necessarily mean, you know, and then that 99% survival rate metric that we're given is
also
based on a lot of
flawed.
things like fucking, did they die in a car crash also? Or did they have a fucking sudden heart attack as well?
Did they have an aneurysm because they,
Stage 4
you know,
cancer.
yeah, a stage 4 cancer. So all of these things, someone posted a video, it was just like, just a little reminder, you know, because the science is settled, and it's
Ooh, I hate that
British,
fucking
I
phrase.
know, British government minister up on the podium with the little, you know, all the little British government little fucking things on it and all the rest of it, saying, I spoke with my colleague in the Hong Kong who's the head of epidemiology for the World Health Organization, and we agree that masks are not the answer, and masks are not going to keep people from getting this infection, and it's a useless measure to put into place. That was back in March. What, so the science was settled in March that they weren't, but now all of a sudden the science has become unsettled and flipped? So
You know
which
what it reminds
science
me
is
of?
settled? Which science is it? Like, because apparently in March,
You've got
the
them-
science was settled that masks were not going to work.
It's the science
Lockdowns are
of human
good, and now
psychology.
lockdowns are bad. As well as like here, if you've been following Australia, we've got outbreaks again. And of course, people are moving around still, and so they're closing borders and all this horse hockey. Two people got through the quarantine thing, and they didn't go to the right place. And half of Victoria wants to, you know, the hunt. We hunt the evil as
We
animal
must hunt
man.
them down.
Yeah, and that's the it's as I think I mentioned last week. There's still they've tapped into a primal fear, and you've got the media just churning out. You know, because my question was when we I was going to ask before we got in this far down, is that has the media stopped talking about the vaccine? Because, you know, they rolled it out and it didn't do that well, and then it's not in the cycle that much, in the news cycle, because once again, which idiot chose someone that would faint from pain? Even
To
the
go
rumors.
on TV after having the vaccination.
Yeah, it's like
You know what
that's
the
not a good
programming
sell.
reminds
Like,
me of?
the marketing department needs to be fired there.
Yeah.
No, the marketing
it-
department is genius because like that's the best part of this all. I mean, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of an out like I'll give an example. It reminds me of like this situation, but totally like blown up. Like the situation of showing people like a documentary on how awful fast food is or whatever. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds awful. Oh yeah, you give them all the facts and they're all like, oh yeah, that sounds horrifying.
Let's
And
go
they'll
get
agree.
some KFC.
Then literally the next day, yeah, it's like, oh, let's get some KFC. It's like, wait.
Yeah, and the other side that's underreported is that the seasonal flu is 99% disappeared. And cold cases are fucking like 90% disappeared this year.
And you can't balance the death rates. Like this is the whole thing that all the statistics for 2020 are coming out now for England, for the States, that are showing like the average deaths of ages type thing in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and there's no change. So where's this pandemic that killed everyone?
Remember
Like,
that?
where's that
headline?
pandemic?
Or the pandemic last year. Remember that headline? I think it was on RT. Scientists are baffled that influenza has disappeared.
Yeah, and the common cold too. Someone said, okay, so this is another piece of. I want to comment on this because this is another big one. One of the subtle pieces of programming they've put into it is things like saying, oh, if you have COVID, one of the symptoms is you lose your sense of smell and your sense of taste. And I had someone message me and saying, I know I had COVID because I lost my sense of smell, and that's the only thing. I'm like, no, it's not. Do you have any idea how many viruses interfere with your sense of smell and your sense of taste?
Anything that blocks your nostrils, anything that blocks your nose.
How many of us have had a cold and you've been like, fucking everything tastes like shit. It all tastes like shit. Because anything that affects your sinuses changes your sense of taste and smell. So, but they've really, really wonderfully programmed everyone that if you lose your sense of smell or taste, you've got COVID. Oh my God. So we went to the grocery store today and the cashier is talking to the person ahead of me. Being a sticky beak, I'm listening in, and she's talking about masks, and she's saying she just had a nurse come through because she's not wearing a mask. The cashier was not wearing a mask. A nurse coming through saying, masks are useless. Anyone who's in medicine knows that masks are useless. Masks aren't going to save anyone from a virus. It's the stupidest thing ever. But now we're forced to wear these stupid masks everywhere. And the cashier says to me, so we get chatting about that, of course. She says, oh yeah, she says, well, I got COVID. Oh, she says, but it wasn't bad. Like, I got it last month and, I lost my sense of taste and sense of smell and I had a headache.
Yeah,
Isn't that a nice bit of programming there? I'm automatically assuming she had COVID because she lost her sense of taste and smell. It's very common.
Even if she had
Remember about 9 months ago, they went through all the symptoms, and all us smokers are gone, well, 80% I already have because I smoke. The taste is gone, the smell is gone, you're coughing. It's like that 80% of it is if you smoke cigarettes. So,
I wonder how many people that have had smokers' coughs have just cleared up over the last year. Fucking get to the grocery store and they're like, I'm gonna just hold it behind their mask.
But hey, what I find weird is I heard a few years ago the story about how you get a cold. Like a cold is always in your body. It's always in your nose,
The
right?
resistance goes down.
Exactly, the resistance goes down. Or you get cold enough so these can multiply enough or whatever, right? And you get the cold. So correct me if I'm wrong. If I have a disease, right? The disease is in my whole body. If I'm infected, right, the virus doesn't choose between the saliva in my mouth and the stomach flu or my gut or my colon, whatever. It's everywhere, right? So theoretically, it should be enough to spit in a little thing, right? But they go up in your nose with these things exactly probably where all these normal things like the common cold is. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I can remember that they were referring before we had corona to a coronavirus that is the normal common cold. So
Yeah.
basically, if I'm not mistaken, if you're taking a swab right from that spot, you should get always parts of these.
Something.
Yeah, exactly. And if you amplify it enough, you will definitely find something, right?
Yeah, that PCR test is worse than useless.
And the thing is with
It's like
the
Monty
man-
Python witch hunt that.
Oh yeah, look, this guava has got
Exactly.
COVID. Oh, the thing is
And
about
the glass
it
of
as
Coke.
well
Don't
is-
forget the glass of Coke that had COVID.
Oh yeah, because of so much fear, and this is scientifically proven. If you're stressed or you're in fear, which is a lower vibration, it affects your immune system.
Exactly.
And so people are getting sick because the TV's telling them they're sick.
They should.
And
be
then on the
sick.
flip side, you have the meme where they say a virus so bad you actually have to be told, you have to get a test to find out if you have it.
And
Well-
have you guys noticed there's been nothing from Antifa or Black Lives Matter in the
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
Antifa
yeah.
has popped up because the mayor of Portland said we should do something about Antifa, and everyone's like, "Yeah, 8 months behind."
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for showing up.
We've been on an hour.
Yeah, and of course, Biden said it's an idea. I'm like, all right,
It's just an idea. Uh-huh.
yeah, I think
Don't
yeah,
even. Okay, did anyone see the bit about Pelosi's house?
yes.
Oh, have you seen
They
also that
spray
picture?
painted the whole. Hold on, Bossy. I know what you're gonna say. Someone attacked Pelosi's house with spray cans and spray painted all over her garage door. So they say in the middle of the night. But as someone did a real zoomed in shot, like there's the big kind of like a big circular type thing, but it's very obvious that someone had taped off all the brickwork around her thing before they spray painted, because where this big circle is, it breaks off at a crisp line. Perfect on the brickwork. So it was like,
You see
it was so nice that those terrorists were so polite to Pelosi that at least they taped off the vandals taped off her brickwork to make sure it wouldn't get on her bricks.
Did you
That's
see
it.
that guy
I
that
would
actually
ask-
live streamed? He took a dump on her driveway. Not all heroes wear capes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
That
But
is
honestly,
jacket.
I want to see her letter. If she has a letter at home, I want to see her letter. Maybe she was it herself, since
I see
well,
what you're saying. Her handwriting.
yeah, exactly. Since she's not the biggest one, maybe she used the letter herself, I mean, on the other hand, aren't there like security guards around that house 24/7? I mean, she's the speaker of the
Like
house.
you're telling me she
Shouldn't there
doesn't
be-
have CCTV security cameras outside of her
Yeah.
house?
or at
Well,
least
fuck
one
off.
car of here, what is it called? Secret Service,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You
You would
cannot
think
tell
that
me
after
that somebody just a group of people in the middle of the night walked up to her house. No one saw or heard anything. Spray painted all over, put a dead pig's head on the driveway and with all the rest of it, and no one saw a thing. And there's
and
no
this is
cameras.
after,
And not
and
to
this is
mention
after
that-
this is after someone took a shit exactly in front of that driveway only a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I'm
weird
sure-
things are fucking crazy all over. There was that goddamn motorhome that blew up next to the AT&T building that left that shit out of Passport again.
No, it didn't. The passport
and-
thing,
and-
that was just a
That was
meme.
fake?
That was
Oh,
just
okay.
fake. Yeah,
And
that
none
was
of these
fake.
politicians live in gated communities, so.
Exactly. Like you can't tell me that there was no security there. There wasn't a fucking with all the shit against her in the media or social media. You cannot tell me that she doesn't have 24/7 Secret Service security. You cannot tell me that she doesn't have security cameras. No fucking way. You can't believe this shit. Like everything has gotten so. The announcements that are coming out. Canada now has concentration camps. Everyone, it was announced. It was just announced I think on the weekend, of course, when people are distracted. That if you fly into Canada and you don't have a negative COVID test with you, or you cannot prove that you couldn't get a COVID testing done before you left or something like that, they are
You'll be
going to
forcibly
take you to forcibly be quarantined in some kind of a quarantine location. No one knows where the quarantine locations are. Government won't tell you where the quarantine locations are. So someone on PocketNet was saying, someone find me any data, I will go all over. I will find, I want to videotape these quarantine camps. I want to videotape. So if you find any information out where they're suspected to be.
I know there's one in Toronto, Danny, because about 3 months ago, maybe, on Cable Pulse 24, the news station, they had that Dr. Davila and Miratori on there saying that we've got one established. Now, it was only for 78 people, so they say, but they said right on TV, undisclosed location. They didn't say why.
Why
So
is it undisclosed? Why does that have to be secret?
I don't know. Like, can we guess? Can we brainstorm?
Well, the only reason you would keep it secret is if it's a concentration camp, if it's a fucking prison situation.
Well, that's what I would think, because I was talking to Darwin about it, and we were trying to figure it out. Like, why would they keep it a secret?
Unless they're hiding something.
And the rest of them were in remote locations. There was a newspaper article where they had put out a legal tender. They had put out a tender for the job. For a third party building these camps. It's crazy.
Well, even if they've taken a hotel, right? Which is what the talk was. Is that the Canada originally was talking about doing exactly what they did in Australia. Here, let's take a hotel over and we'll just get some private security company going, because that went well for all the Australians.
Twice.
Yeah, twice. Even if it's a hotel, for whatever, the only reason it would need to be hidden is that no one would be able to find their family members, i.e., for example, your niece, your nephew, your grandchild flies in and gets, you don't have a test. You couldn't be able to go find them, in other words, to try and get them out. You wouldn't even, you would have no one being able to look to see, well, how are they being held in there? Are they being treated properly? Are they allowed to go outside and get exercise? Is it military securing the building? Is it private security? Like, what is the only reason to keep something like that hidden is to keep it hidden. There's no reason for it. Otherwise, they could say this building, there are people all being taken here. If it was open to public scrutiny, they would announce where these concentration camps, and I'm going to keep calling them concentration camps because that's what they are, where these concentration camps are, so the public and the family members would at least be able to, at somewhat visually be able to see that the people in those buildings are being looked after.
It's the same as the nursing homes and the old age homes, right? That's a perfect example of what people will do to see their loved ones, right? And even that's visible for us all to see, and it's so sad,
Well, if you can, because here in Australia there was in Victoria, when we allegedly, now 800 people did die, but who knows from what, because they're all over the mean age of like 82. They're all died, but family members weren't able to grieve. They couldn't say goodbye to grandma, and that's just reinforcing the whole fear thing, where these old people can't see their family and they're stuck in a room, and it's just pushing the whole. They probably give up because they're being told they've got a deadly disease and they can't see family, which is compounding everything, and they move on. Also, while I remember, someone pointed out this in a meme, and it makes perfect sense. Like, if we think this through, anyone on the plane that has COVID, that means everyone in the plane has to go to those camps, because you see everyone social distance when they're lining up onto the planes, and then 20 minutes later, you're all packed into a fart.
Exactly.
Yes, Monty, I saw that meme where they had like the airport, and everyone was like 10 meters apart, and then right now on the airplane, everyone is sitting next to each other, but they have masks.
Hey, you guys, let me add to that. We were on a plane, and they had us all distance at the airport, and so they, you'd think they'd leave the middle seat open on these planes, but they don't.
No, because it's money.
Yeah, and so they have this recording they play on the plane, the standard one, to maintain social distancing, and everybody's getting up to deplane, and you're in everybody's face, and this black guy was so funny. He was like, just stop it right now. He's saying it real loud, and I mean, it's like, and I just kind of looked at everybody. I think they think we're all dumb, just stupid, but I mean, it's just whatever's convenient for them.
Well, it doesn't. None of it makes any sense. Like,
hold on, Nancy.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Nancy.
No, nothing makes any sense. So I always have Cable Pulse 24 on just because I want the weather report. And I guess I should watch the Weather Network because I get caught by that news headline and I should know better. But then I'll walk by and I'll see something like World Junior A Championships. And I'm going, okay, so we're in lockdown, but they can still have Junior A Championship games? Like, what's going on? Like, that's not an essential service. I'm sorry, if you're going to follow your own rules. Now, who deemed hockey an essential service?
Well, it keeps the Muggles from rioting. That's basically an ancient Roman tenet. Is the fucking
you know what? You're
bread
right.
And circuses, bread and circuses. If as long as you give them bread and circuses, they won't riot. I posted that meme this week.
2 weeks ago. Remember 2 weeks ago, I still bring it up because it's funny that high school students in Utah are allowed to wrestle, but they can't shake hands because of COVID.
See, what scares me is how they're blatantly not trying to hide how shady they're being.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's the programming. You just said it earlier, Zero. The programming is so heavy that they're literally blatantly saying this shit and doing this shit because they don't give a fuck, because the people are so heavily programmed by the fear programming.
They get away with whatever the fuck they want, and they take advantage of that. Hey, they forgot what we said last week.
They forgot that the British health minister agreed with the World Health Organization and Mark that masks do nothing because the science was settled back then.
And all the medical professionals and the politicians have been getting full pay for the last 12 months.
Exactly. And see, this is one of those things I get really pissed. That's one of them right there. Is all these people who are making demands on society, demands on the public, who are locking people down, destroying economies, etc. They have not missed one paycheck. They have not lost one single penny.
They go out to their beach houses or their fucking parties with their fucking faces hanging out.
Canada, some fucking minister in Canada.
I was just about to say that, Danny.
Lockdown. Fucked off to the Caribbean for Christmas.
And another one went to Hawaii.
Another one went to Hawaii.
To Greece.
And someone went to Florida. And all these Canadian ministers of government fucked after telling all the people in their constituencies of you got to stay locked down. You can't go see your family for Christmas, but we're going to fuck off to Greece and go on vacation.
Like when
that was in The Simpsons.
If they wanted to pass the fucking law that said, hey, all the pubs everywhere in the country are closed except for the ones right around Parliament. We're going to keep those.
Oh, of course, yeah. Remember in The Simpsons where something happened? I think it's the asteroid episode, but they cut to Mayor Quimby, and it's like I've cancelled my my holiday to the Bahamas, and then a guy with a steel drum walks past. Hey, get that steel drum out of the office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's so blatant, but the fact that is that the statement of society right now that
so fucking dumbed down and blinded.
I had to catch a friend of mine getting all freaked out because of the numbers were over 3,000 for Ontario, up from maybe 100 a day. And we know those numbers
3,000 what though?
Right?
Exactly.
But the normies don't understand. So they increased their testing. So they're testing 30,000, so they get 2,000 cases. They're now testing 50,000, so they get 3,000 cases. They're now testing 70,000, so they don't understand.
They can't get the maths.
It's just, it's illogical.
Nancy, that sounds like someone who is buying a lotto ticket and had bad luck and decides, I'm gonna buy two more and two more and more and more. Eventually, someone has to be lucky, right?
Exactly, Bassy.
Just processing the numbers. So what we're saying is, don't get tested, and that's the cure for COVID.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
The cure for COVID is for everyone to stop getting fucking tested for it.
I feel like they're blinding people to corruption. Like they're introducing it like so small at a time that like I ask people to like would you look at this for like 2 extra seconds? Like, are you not seeing?
I think they've gone past blinding people to it to advertising for it.
Yes.
You know what I
T-shirts.
mean? Like it seems to be.
Yep.
They come out right now and they're saying, okay, look, if you're stealing, it better be over fucking $10 million. Because if it's under $10 million, you're going to jail. But if it's over $10 million fucking dollars that you're stealing, we're going to give you a job
And a promotion. And
You
probably a
fail
bonus.
upwards. Yeah.
Yeah, a promotion upwards and a bonus. Yeah.
You know that
On Chris Day, I was talking to my one side of my family, and they've got the TDS is huge, the Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, he's just like Hitler. I'm like, I didn't want to engage because I'm trying to be nice, but still I'm thinking, Hitler did this and Hitler did that. And the idea is that apparently Trump's Hitler because he's making the people follow him and he's a liar, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's Hitler. He supports Israel and his grandkids are Jewish. But let's not bring that up.
That's like
we're not going to bring
talking
that
to
up.
the born-again Christian, though.
Nick, what you earlier said,
Yeah.
that reminds me of that new show. What is it from the BBC called The Watch, made of the Terry Pratchett universe?
I haven't
So they
seen
had
it yet.
yesterday the first. Yeah, you will eventually. But they had yesterday the first episode, and it was hilarious. So because that one guy plays like a detective, like in New York, but only in a sci-fi world, right? He runs around with his badge the first day. He takes in a thief and brings him to the police station. And at the police station, he pulls out a paper and says, "Look, I'm from the Thieves Guild. I'm allowed to steal. And since you brought me here, you're going to be executed because I'm allowed to steal," That reminds me of the politicians today. I mean, literally. I mean, just imagine for a moment how they lambasted Trump with all the connections and blah, blah, blah. And yet, just before the elections, we had the Hunter Biden thing that was literally also getting his dad in, right? Like for all the shit they done together. And there was a blackout. And yet they come out, everything is fine. And then
I mean,
and the fact that half the Biden family is now wanted by the Ukrainian government?
Yeah, exactly.
To bring things back into
not
a
in
full
China.
circle, though, I mean, we live in a world where fucking a guy like Julian Assange, who publishes fucking the dirty deeds and the murders and the fucking crimes that the elite have committed for free, he's
With
getting thrown
evidence.
into jail, not the people that committed the murders or the crimes or the fucking theft or the fucking horrible things.
Yep.
Well, that's the whole thing about Trump, where they try to impeach Trump for what Biden did. Because Trump made a phone call like, what's going on with this Biden thing? Oh, look, Trump's trying to do whatever it was. But I've seen footage. It's at the foreign relations thing. Like Trump's boasting in front of a crowd being filmed, how he said to the guy in Ukraine, if you don't stop this one investigator looking into my son, I will not give you $1 billion worth of aid.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's
Publicly.
smiling.
We have the recordings of it. Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, this is the level where he's actually saying it on camera, but then they blame Trump for it.
Yep.
Okay, so there's something new that just came out where Trump was talking with one of the people for Georgia for elections. And now they're saying, well, now because he's talked to him about it and said, all that needs to be looked into is 11,000,
Yeah, under 12,000 votes.
And he's just asking the guy to look into it. He's not saying, hey, I need you to, go rig this. I need you to look into, and see if you see any of the same stuff that we're seeing about the fraud. And now they're like, oh, well, now he needs to be another impeachment because he's asking him to do this with the votes, and now this could look like, well, Trump wants to rig the votes, and
It's a little late for
God.
that, isn't it?
What the media basically did is took 4 minutes of an hour conversation where I haven't heard the actual conversation, but Chris Gio was talking about this on his Facebook page. At the end, everyone agrees, yeah, we should look into this, that actually following the rule of law. And you had Kamala Harris like, oh, it's desperation, blah, 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 and he's pleading. And that's the spin that the media is doing. Trump is begging to find these votes. And can you see Donald Trump begging at all for anything?
For anything?
And apparently Trump or his administration, someone in the Trump camp, is trying to sue the person who released that because it's a personal or it's a special correspondent. I can't remember the right words, but it shouldn't be made public. It's a confidential conversation where it's also, I think the Secretary of State, it's all, if you've got an hour, listen to it.
It's not supposed to be released. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
On that same vein, what you said about that whole Julian Assange thing about exposing, like, it reminds me of that famous Edward Snowden quote that goes, when exposing a crime is treated as committing a crime, you're being ruled by criminals.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's the piece that drives me nuts. That people literally are so highly programmed, they have such cognitive dissonance that they cannot see the fact of, for example, using your Julian Assange, your Edward Snowden, and don't get me wrong, I'm not supporters of either of them because there's some fishy shit there as well, right? But looking at the surface of it, they were given information which they made public that shows the crimes of government and official people, and they're being the ones fucked with and persecuted and arrested and threatened with life imprisonment at the very least. Yet the people who actually committed the crimes, has there been an investigation? And anything that WikiLeaks has put out, anything that Edward Snowden has talked about, has there been a single investigation of that information?
Most of them are the ones that made millions in 2020.
Hey, Danny.
Danny, I have a question.
Hit me.
It's up, Nick or you, at least one of you might have an answer, I hope. Somebody earlier said something about cognitive dissonance. And the reason I bring that up is all of this insanity is leading thinking people to that position of cognitive dissonance. And the question is, what does excessive cognitive dissonance do to a sane person? And I don't know the answer, which would be like
that's a good
psychologically.
question.
Is there a
It's
Yeah.
very relevant.
Lori, that's a
that's
fucking
that's
good
a
question.
If human history is any
That's a
indication,
unique space.
if human history is any indication, then cognitive dissonance isn't enough to actually light a fire under enough people to make a difference. It has to come to the point of desperation. That desperation point comes after that cognitive dissonance.
Oh, we're echoing back in someone's
Well, that's what
device.
they're pushing us towards. That is what they're pushing us towards. And I think, trying to isolate these specific crazy incidences just keeps us in, it's just leading in that direction,
Yep.
And at some point, people are just going, I don't know what, but like you say, desperation. I guess that's what they're trying. I don't know.
Anyone?
It's a slow breakdown. It's a slow breakdown over time.
I don't know about you guys, but I found.
Go ahead, Nancy. I'm
No,
not
I
going
was
back.
just gonna-
Dawn, can you mute, please, love? Okay, go ahead, Nancy.
It's just somewhat related to the cognitive dissonance, but there's like the gaslighting, and I find myself getting more and more susceptible to it and questioning my own beliefs isn't a good word. I can't think of a good word, but it's so much in your face that you're starting to think, well, geez, maybe I am wrong. So I'm trying to be neutral That was my New Year's resolution, was to stay neutral instead of getting caught up in it. Because I can get caught up in it. I can get on Twitter and I'll start reading it all. And I'm going, you know, how can I? And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, let's take Trump, for example, that I'm not too involved in being in Canada, but I'll read it. And I'll say, well, how can these people not see all this evidence? And then I start questioning whether there is evidence, you know, because I'm getting part of the programming is setting in, like, you know, the gaslighting is working on me. And I'm thinking, geez, if I know better, what's happening to the normies? Right?
They've bought in. It's figuring out, it's finding the energy where, like, if you go on Twitter as an example and you can feel yourself starting to get pulled in, get off Twitter and walk away, and you start to recognize when that energy is drawing you in. Normal people, I thought we were normal, you know, muggles. That's the reality they're stuck in, that false reality of, like, you know, we save lives because we've got a cloth on our mouth. And this is why when I try to, I've sort of left conspiracy world, because there's no reason to really watch all the media, because it's 80% of it's horseshit. And we have to wait till certain things actually happen. You can't even game out stuff anymore, because it could go anywhere. Like, it's the 5th here. So the 6th of January is when the Electoral College votes go to Congress. They could go anywhere. So instead of wasting energy of, like, well, it could be this, it could be that, we sort of have to allow the timeline to unfold, or the event line to unfold, because you're wasting energy. It's like, as a quick example, you have a dentist appointment and you spend 3 weeks of fearful that something's going to happen at the dentist, and he goes, no, that's fine, and you leave, and you've just wasted all that energy on stuff that didn't happen.
Right. Good advice.
But here's the and we keep talking about it. The alt media is just as guilty as the mainstream media, and the programming and the cognitive dissonance that a lot of the so-called truthers are having, because but they follow along. Someone put out a post on social media, I think it was Facebook, and it was an announcement by some person on Twitter, no idea who they are, saying, okay, what was it? It was like, Trump has done this, Pence has done this, they've done this, these people have been all arrested. There's a new vice president, Flynn is now the new vice president, blah, blah, blah. And I read this and I was just like, okay, I have an article that I wrote in first week of January of 2013 that reads word for word. I could have written that tweet, if I used Twitter, in January of 2013. Swap names out, obviously. Identical intel. And the guy even opening up me, I've got highly placed government sources. So did I. I had really highly placed government Pentagon sources who was giving me the information. What happened? Well, Obama got sworn into office on the 22nd or the 21st or whatever day it was in 2013. And it just went, all that intel, it just fucking disappeared. So when I see an exact repeat, and then I say to people, guys, I wrote this, I could have written exactly this in like 8 years ago. And the amount of people who jumped in to be like, oh, but don't you see it's like this, and it's like cognitive. I've just basically tried to show people that it's like, it's the same intel, the exact same fucking intel that I was told. Take that as you will. And the excuse is that it's like a cognitive dissonance. No, it can't mean what she's saying it means. It must mean that whatever happened in 2013, now it's actually going to happen. Now it's going to actually happen. Hey,
part of the conspiracy world is that they fill in, like, as Nick was alluding to, where they make shit up, where it's like, oh, Trump touched his left ear, so therefore we're invading China. You know, they jump into the unknown and they shit out in the middle of nowhere. Also, did you see?
Cognitive dissonance feels like anyone who's had the experience of, growing up in a super religious, upbringing, like Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormon or something, knows what that feels like. And basically, too much cognitive dissonance, you reach a decision point where it's either fall in line or do this other thing that's going to totally make your world explode. And what it really feels like is, imagine getting shot with an arrow, okay? It's either making the decision, okay, well, this is the reality now, and I go with this, or it's knowing that you need to pull that out and it's going to hurt like hell.
Yeah.
That's what
it sounds. It sounds like you cannot follow two masters. It's like you have to choose one master.
Kind of.
Okay,
it's either just go with it because it's a part of you now, and it just has to be a part of you now, or it's pull it out and you know that ripping it out is going to hurt.
One of the little kernels of dissonance that sits within all of us is that place of false hope, right?
Yeah.
Because it's constantly fed to us. Oh, guess you guys can have false hope of a vaccine, or we can have a false hope of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, or we can have the false hope of the wearing the mask is going to make this go away, and we'll all be back to normal in 2021. And then they constantly yank the rug out from under you. And it's the same thing in the alt media as well. And pick your topic, right? Like you want to talk about
financial reset,
ascension bullshit, or
aliens,
fucking aliens, or if you want to talk about the global currency revaluation, or if you want to talk about channelers, it's always the same thing. Offer you a fucking little carrot of false hope that you can choke on for the next week to get you through, and then fucking come Monday, they will yank the rug from under you, and you'll have to look for your new carrot of false hope. And that constant bombardment of dashed false hope is one of the biggest fucking seeds of cognitive dissonance in everyone right now, I think.
Yep.
And pick your fucking topic.
Yep.
I will. I'll give you this turned up in the last 24 hours. Greta Thunberg, she's special.
Okay, is that real?
Let him go. Let him go.
No. Well, technically it is, but it's sarcasm. It's her being sarcastic.
Was it? Because I saw it was like
if you look, it's nothing else. It's just her being sarcastic because she's a Northern European teenager. So yeah, sarcasm's not that. But the rest of her Twitter is still the same. The pinned tweet is all about the stuff. It's just her being sarcastic.
Okay,
and
what did she say? What did she say?
This is real, so it's true.
What did she say in that Twitter
I'm 18
yesterday?
now, and so. I'm 18 now, so basically, I'm paraphrasing. I can actually, because I'm 18, I'm free, and I can actually go against my handlers and point out I won't peddle climate change and conspiracy theories and all that type of stuff. And it's interesting to see that just that bit of sarcasm, a bit of comedy. Everyone's got, this is true. It's like, yes, she did tweet it, but it's not based in fact. It's her taking the piss.
It's her taking the piss. Yes. Nick has been saying for years, we need a one font that's just for sarcasm, so that every single person who sees anything written in that font will go, oh, okay, that's
our
sarcasm.
Digital world would slowly begin to recover, and the earth would become a better place if humans would just agree on a sarcasm
We just
font.
need a sarcasm font. I agree.
I tell it.
Danny, throw that on a t-shirt, man. We need a font for sarcasm. Just like that. That'd be funny.
Yep.
How many times in the last 12 months?
You know, we live. I'm sorry, Monty. Were you talking, hon?
Just very quickly, how many times in the last 12 months have you looked at something and gone, is this parody or satire?
I do it all the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every single comment
No, I
section,
was
you
just
to read through the fucking dozens of people tripping over their dick because they don't understand sarcasm.
So one of my biggest problems myself is navigating this world. Do you play the game to not cause stress? So over Christmas, usually on Christmas Eve, my family comes over here, and on Christmas Boxing Day, we go over there. And this year, my family had demands. They said, if we're coming over to your house, Darwin usually prepares all the meals. They said, we want Darwin to wear a mask. We want to prepare all the food with gloves on. We're going to social distance in your house. We want the windows open, and the food has to be covered with saran wrap. And I looked at Darwin. He said, no fucking way.
See you in 2021.
Not in my house. and this is my immediate family that I care about. So what do you do? So he said, no way. So we said no. We just said no. And we'll just do it one day this year because of COVID. So we kind of used the same argument backwards. And then when we went over there, they had separate tables, you know, like the kids' table at Christmas. You're way over there, they're way over there. And it's the navigating this world with people that you care about, that are your family and friends, that are still want to do all the crazy stuff. So I just don't know how to do it. I just don't go out.
It's hard.
That's probably one of the most fucking poignant examples of the reasons we should self-isolate, is because of that bullshit.
Listen, Nancy, if there's one time that I'm so happy to be 2,000 miles away from my family, it's right now. Because now I have no excuse. We don't have to deal with it. We don't. Everything we do is by video anyway.
Right.
And you know what?
I mean,
my family knows me as a black sheep anyway. I'm kind of the black sheep. So
a website, yeah.
I have a website to prove it. But at the same time, I don't talk to my dad about any of this stuff because I can't. He tried to open the door, like just a crack, and he started spouting programmed media bullshit, and I was just like, "What? Close the door," because I don't have the conversation. It's tough when it's your family that you meet with and your friends that you are with all the time, that you usually socially gather with, especially at holiday seasons. But we're at this new place, and honestly, like, we are at this new place now of, and I hate to use the word division, but there is this division now.
Germophobia is a mental illness, and it's like shocking to see how many people are actually infected with it.
Germophobia
is probably
it's now become, you know, like,
it's cool. Yeah, germophobia is cool.
You
No, I
you
mean,
have to just be with the people. And sometimes you just got to sit there and be like, I'm not going to meet with you. I'm not.
Maybe this makes sense to me because I'm a gamer, but in my mind, the way I relate it is that everyone else is playing their own game. Same world, but everyone is playing an entirely different game.
Yep.
And if someone comes to me with they're all panicky, whatever, I'm just like, sorry, I'm not going to play your game because your game is shit. Well, I don't say that, but you know, I'm like I'm not going to play that game. That game sounds like a boring, panic-filled shit game. Like the game I'm playing is entirely different, and I'm going to own the game I'm playing. And sometimes, like this is all in my head dialogue, obviously, and like I'll see what they're doing, and I'll just like I'll kind of smile to myself, like, wow, what a shitty game to play, and then I'll just sort of.
That's a better way of what I was about to say, because I'm a hermit, so yeah, hermits unite. We meet up every 10 years. But you can. The way I've survived is you can hide in the cracks, and then you create your own reality. And so, like, if the news is just getting, you can feel the news bombarding you. Just turn the news off, and it's getting used to the trick. It's not a pain. Well, it's a kind of pain is when you're dealing with friends and family, and you try and find that 0 point or the center point where it's like, well, okay, yeah, that whole free will. You know, yeah, like as Danny just explained with her dad, it's like you can talk about, remember that time I fell out of the tree? You know, it doesn't about, oh, what's Trump doing? You try and find conversations around it where you don't allow that energy to come up.
It's not really the kind of world where we're creating new memories with our family right now.
And that's what I mean by the division point. Exactly what Zero was saying. And Monty, what we're all talking about, there's this divisionary point of like, I'm not going to play in their game. I refuse to play in that game. And that's that division point, is you might be on the same planet. If it's a planet, we're still not sure about that either. But you might be living in the same reality, maybe, not sure about that either. But we're not going to play in their game. If they want to play by that set of rules where they live in the fear and the anger and the complete mindless programming of everything, the more you break away from that, the more you pull back into your own world. And it's funny, I put a list of words up on Facebook, and I put it in the Unfuckers group as well. Let's see if I can pull it up here. And it's a list of, it says 23 emotions people feel but can't explain. And I'll put the image in with the recording. And some of them are like really, really interesting. Like monachopsis is the subtle but persistent feeling of being out of place. And these are the kinds of things like like I said, I'll put the list. I'm not going to try and pull it up now because my internet will probably fucking crash.
The tendency to give up trying to talk about an experience because people are unable to relate to it.
Yes, excellences. That was mine. I was like, that's my world right there. Because
but the thing
you
is,
can't talk about it. And I love that there's actually some words that accurately describe what we've been talking about for years. But the more this goes on, the more I've stepped back. And it's this last 2 weeks of, the holiday insanity, et cetera, and all the other stuff that we've got going on in our lives. I have so pulled back from this reality. I have no problem staying in my house. Lockdown? Okay. Because I just don't want to be part of it. Everyone else's game out there is fucked, and I don't want to play it. I don't want to be part of their game. I'm done with it.
They're all playing the Bethesda first release.
The Bethesda first
and when
release.
when you start doing that, there's an element of, you feel an element of loss. It's just the disconnection of energy.
Uh-oh. It's that time of day.
But you can gain so much more. You're not allowing to be controlled, and you can grow more and all that type of stuff, which is like, I think all those words neutral, and it depends on your perspective. Like now, I know Danny, you saw it, but that meme that the monkey, that the sideways glance of the monkey, but it was the two slit quantum experiment.
Yeah.
Great meme.
Best meme ever. I posted that out.
That's gone viral across the entire internet in 3 days. Just everyone's gone bam because it's perfect.
The thing I love about the real thing about everyone else's game out there is that, honestly, in my opinion, it's fucking boring. Like if that's the game you're gonna play, like out of all the things life has to offer, that's what, like, out of all the awesome thing, maybe it's because I'm also an artist too, but like out of all the little awesome little worlds I could get involved in, and out of all the amazing things I could focus, like, to me that just feels like the most boring ass, like, generic game you could possibly. It's like,
you know what? I'm an artist too, and I read an article. I'll see if I can find it for you. Gosh, maybe I can find it in my Google history. And it said artists are the only ones, not the only ones, that's the wrong phrase, are coping with this better, let's say, than the average person. And I don't know why that is, like the article explained about, getting lost in your passion, but that's not just applies to artists, it applies to anybody with a passion, right? With what they're doing, right? That's that thing, where you get lost for hours and you go, oh my God, I forgot to eat. Right?
This is like retirement syndrome on a mass scale, though, because there's a very real fucking, like, people retire and they die right after they retire because they lose their will to live their purpose, right? And in a lot of ways, this is like showing what retirement's going to be like, and it's fucking separating the people that are able to cope from the people that aren't able to cope.
Yeah.
You know what? Good point. And, it's unfortunate, but so I retired in 2016, and I've never been busier. There's always something to learn. I don't know how anybody gets bored. My husband retired in September or whenever, last September. Oh my God, it's been a year already. And he's going to go back to work. It's like, okay, I'll take the money, but like, why? He says, well, I thought when I retired, I was going to do all things. I was going to look into bushcraft, and I was going to pick up with the martial arts. But he hasn't done any of that. He's gained weight.
It's like that Spider Robinson book.
There was some people maybe that are just
anecdote in one of the Spider Robinson's book about a guy that that worked in the sewage industry for his entire fucking career, 45 years dealing with sewage. And after he retired, he just got in the habit of fucking keeping a bucket of shit in his apartment because the smell got good to him over the years.
Look, when my grandfather,
Nancy, could it?
My grandfather was a carpenter, and brought up old school in England, where he started. He was apprenticed to be a carpenter when he was 11 years old, and when he retired, they had moved into our house with us, with my family, and my dad took the garage that was attached to the house and completely converted it into a workshop. Because the one thing my dad said was, with people like Grandpa, who've worked their entire lives, like they have worked their whole life, when all of a sudden they retire, a lot of them, as Nick said, a lot of them die because they suddenly have
Yes, they do.
nothing to do. They
Inverse
don't.
of the placebo effect in a certain way.
Yeah,
See,
exactly. And
this
they
is-
put together my grandpa this incredible workroom in the garage, and literally the week my grandfather retired, 3 friends of the family showed up and went, "Hi, Jim. Could you help me? I need this table repaired. Could you help me?" And my grandpa was like, "Yeah, okay, sure, no problem." And off he went. And they kept him, the friends of the family and the family kept him busy for a year, non-stop. And he realized what they were doing. Like, it wasn't so far in before he realized what they're doing. He was still getting up at 4:30 in the morning every morning, just like he always did, had his coffee, but he was happy. My grandfather was never happier than when he was out in the garage
Building shit. Yeah,
building shit. And not just, all of a sudden it went from building shit that the corporation told him he had to build to, here, I've got an idea for making a checkerboard wood table out of these 2 different colors of wood. And my grandpa going, "Yeah, I'll do that. Oh, yeah. He'd never done that kind of carpentry, but he fucking did.
It's like my dad.
Yeah, Charles.
It's like my dad. He, retired, didn't know what to do with himself. And one day he just was like, I think I'm going to make wagon wheels, and sell them,
Yeah, remember
Why not?
Charles Schultz, who drew Charlie Brown Peanuts
Yep.
comic? Yeah, he retired at I think 93 and died 2 weeks later.
It's so sad because I still get the pension news from OPG, which is the company I worked for. And, I always read the death notices because I like to see if there was anybody I knew that's passed away. And it just shocks me the number of people that pass away within a year. Isn't that an actuarial fact? I don't know if actuarial is a word, but what an actuary does, right? They do the stats. So, I'm pretty sure they factor that into their pension calculation.
Absolutely they do. And that's why those pensions in Canada and in the States and fucking in Europe, were all blown up, because the excuse was, well, over half these people are never going to collect their pensions for longer than a year or 2. So we can take that money that's theirs, and no one will ever fucking know. Oh, boom. Oh, gee, the bottom dropped out of the market and there's now no pension money. Oh, shit. Maybe we didn't really consider that. But yeah, that's why they did what they did, because they knew that people wouldn't.
What's that, Beth?
Hey, Nancy, can I throw in something? Maybe with your husband, it is like back then when he had to work, he wanted to do all these things he wanted to do, but now that there is no work for him, you see where I'm going. Now all these things are not that interesting anymore, because sometimes it happens to me over the day when I'm busy doing work. I think like, oh my God, this evening I'm gonna do this or do that, and then there's evening and you have your free time. You sit there and think, well, yeah, let's put up the feed and look something up on the TV or something like that, sort of, like when you have the time, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it, but if you don't have the time, you want to do it. Definitely.
No, there is some truth in that, and I don't want to talk ill of my husband because we're just different. So I didn't mean that, because it's a criticism, but it's not.
A lot of people go through that. That's just an observation, and it's a truism. Like, that's a truism, that there's exactly what Bossy said. What you think you want to do, when all of a sudden you get to that point where you have maybe the opportunity, you realize, you know what, that really doesn't interest me that much, or I've already actually found out all I need, or actually it's not interesting to me anymore. The problem then becomes finding what actually does interest them, right? Like we all change our minds. One week I'm doing nothing but canning in the house, and then next week I'm like, yeah, fuck that, I'm done with the canner, put it away. I can't do any more fucking cooking.
I think Darwin's problem was age. He went back to do the martial arts. He did give it a shot. He's got a black belt in Aikido. I think he's got a blue belt maybe in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And because he's, let's see, I'm 58. He's 3 years younger. He's 55. No, he's 54. He was with all the young guys. So that, I think, discouraged him.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful who you compare yourself to, right?
Exactly.
Old timers or martial artists.
Exactly. What Nick just said, you don't compare yourself to anyone.
One of the sad things about language, I feel like, is the term world is that, like, we live in a world of worlds of worlds of worlds. Like, there are so many different worlds you can get lost in your free time, you know?
Absolutely.
And yeah, I guess there's the existence reality we all share, but not really. Anyway. But like, there are so many different worlds to get lost into, and like so many different ones. And it's so, when you think about it all, it's just like, God, why would you focus on
just one?
Yeah, but Zero, don't we have the ability to create worlds within worlds? I mean, you as a gamer, you know there is out there this amazing game called Minecraft. For most of the people, this game is amazing, right? But then there are people that say, wait a minute, we can make it even cooler. We can create in this game our own games, our own world, our own stuff, right? Like you are given a toolbox and a sandbox, so to speak, but you decide what you're going to do with it, right? If you just play along for yourself, or you create a huge amazement park for everyone and invite everyone. And also one thing about this world, I mean, it looks so often that we are out of power and we can't do nothing. I mean, from online games, it was always fascinating for me, especially those games where you have one server for the entire world, where you have people from Australia, from Hungary, from Russia, from Germany, from UK, from everywhere, right? So sometimes you are in situations where you can't do shit because you're out of your time zone. The other time zone has too many players. What you can do is take away the content for those people that are trying to fuck with you. Like if I say, yeah, just don't go online that day, that doesn't mean you should put your head in the sand and do nothing. But no, you're just taking away that content from these people that are there to fuck with you. And if you're not there to fuck with you, they're just sitting there, right? Like you're ruining their game experience while you are there actually being the guy that's being fucked. But you're saying like, yeah, go ahead, do what you want, right?
Yeah, I seem to have the flip side of that is where like I wake up after my nap because I woke up 2 hours earlier. That's fun. But then it's the whole thing of like, okay, I've got 6 things to do. And I do one thing and then something else comes out and that takes up the whole day. Well, that's sort of where I'm at, where it's like, I want to do this, this, and this. Oh, I tried this and we're doing this over here now. It's like, all right. And then the day's gone. I'm like, oh, crap.
Yep. Welcome to my world.
Ozzy, touching on what you were talking about earlier, though, what you were talking about walks dangerously close to something called tacit consent, right? And it is a very real problem with what's going on in our entire world today. It's gotten the way that it has because enough people have just turned around and said, okay, well, you play your fucking game and I'll play mine. And then...
See, I should have been more specific. Sorry. I should have been more specific. I didn't mean that in sort of passive consent. I mean that in a way like... you are in this world, right? They given you the rules, but you can do whatever you want with it. If I say, yeah, that sounds like passiveness, just find something else where you can take away their content or whatever they are doing, just be asymmetrical, right? Like if they say jump this high, you do whatever you want, right? You do something so different to this tactic that they can't find any means to confront you or to do whatever. That means also, like, if they're trying to fuck with you, then you decide, let's say, being the passive guy, okay, I'm stopping to work, I'm stopping to pay energy into the system, I'm just only working to get by myself, sort of, you know what I mean? Like, you're just trying to find ways how to get back at them without you being in danger, sort of.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think another way to put that is just like, I have boundaries. Like, so on the one hand, I don't completely bury my head in the sand and get lost in my own little worlds, you know. Like, I also look at I balance the two. And what that means is that, like, I have boundaries with the external world, and I say, you know what, like, I'm the one that gets to decide when I look out and what I research and when I connect with it. It doesn't rule me.
Yep.
And on the other hand, I get to decide when I want to disconnect from it and have my own personal experience, rather than having this external thing rule my emotions and other people's reactions to things. Like, you know, I feel like it's like a balance.
It's so funny that Bossy brought up Minecraft, and I was snickering my ass off Bossy, because in our house, Minecraft is like, it's it. That's one of the big things. And my youngest daughter is a master builder. She really is. She can build anything in Minecraft. She does the most incredible creations. And then the two boys will go off and they'll get kind of bored with it, etc. Well, then someone built a world within Minecraft that they discovered, a game within the game. And now they're all, instead of being kind of like, I don't really feel like it, they're like, let's play Minecraft. Yeah, because they've discovered a new game within the game that is like lit them up from the inside of like, this is new. Oh, this is a cool idea. Oh, I'm really enjoying that. And at some point in time, they'll get, you know, bored of that. And then they'll discover another game within the game that inspires them to do new stuff. And that's kind of the world that we live in right now. But you can't, if anything right now, if you make plans, if you try and make plans, it's almost like reality. It goes out of its way to say, no. Yeah. If you fly by the seat of your pants and just do the shit that's coming at you, dealing with the stuff as it comes up, spontaneously, there's the word, spontaneity, that's the word. That's when things flow, right? But every time I try and start to, we're going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, never fucking happens. Never fucking happens. You've got to just kind of, at this point, it feels like we're in, almost as if reality is putting us into a place where we're forced to be more like that, less structured, less everything like on a schedule, and you know, normal has gone out the window. Normal has gone out the window, and what we choose to do with that now is our choice.
Yeah, it's like the higher self. If we use that example, is like no, it's just like you know, when you're playing with a kitten and the kitten wants to run away and the Hank, no, you're going that way. I don't know. So there's a sort of a hint of trust of, like, for me anyway, it's let the universe unfold. And of course, you know, I'm the center of my universe and you're the center of your universe, and joy of creation, we all intermingle, for fuck's sake. But
when they let us.
Yeah, but I always say I don't play video games. I'm in one, and that's sort of where it is. It's like I've been trying to play a Batman Arkham video game for about 6 months. It's been sitting there collecting dust, but just things just like, oh, I want to do this, or oh, I'm hungry now, I should do this. So, oh, snap, nap, bam. Fucking naps.
I like shiny new object syndrome, though, where you go from one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing. It looks crazy to people on the outside. My husband and I drive him crazy because I'm always like, oh, I got this great idea. And you never know which great idea I'm pursuing at that moment in time. But
it seems to be part of what's happening in the world, where instead of like 3 years ago, it's like, well, instead of being lost it's like there's a hint of we're going the right way, and I try not to think about it too much because it hurts. But that there seems to be something guiding us a certain way instead of that just sort of distraction or denial. It's not that we're being pushed towards something instead of us pushing something away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The
I get
organic
you.
way, the
In a very
organic
weird way,
and
yes, you make sense.
yeah, the organic way
Thank
and
you.
the
I'm glad
soulless
this is
way, right?
recorded. Say that again, Bussy.
The organic way and the forced way.
Yeah. It's flow with the force and don't put up blocks.
There are times I feel like we're the people in the Lego movie. You know, like.
Funnily enough, we just watched that this weekend.
Okay, you said she's a master builder, right? So I'm like, oh, she's like Clown style. She's a master builder.
The Lego movie, Bossy. Because when I said master builder, I was referring to the Lego movie. Nicely done, Earl. You picked up on that.
If you haven't seen it, Bussy, it's worth seeing because it's almost soft disclosure spiritually, where just some of the jokes in it where it's like, everything's planned for us. And he just goes through where one company owns everything. And it's like, hang on.
Two is better. Two is better than one.
I haven't, you know what? I think
Two's on Netflix.
We had a shitty copy of the second one. I don't think we've ever downloaded the second one properly. I'll have to do that. Is it on Netflix? Well, Netflix in Europe is different, so I'd have to check and see if we have it here. Yeah, everyone should watch the Lego movie. It's good fun entertainment at the very least, but it's another one of those movies of like.
Okay, there's another.
I'd like to apologize for that song being stuck into your head because everything
is awesome. Yeah,
sorry, Earl, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
There's this guy called Jason Q, and he goes through and he looks at stuff on the internet, and there's a bit of a QAnon stuff, but he goes into deep stuff and like how things are structured, and he goes into looking at Risk, the game of Risk, and there's a book on Risk, and there's the Enoch stuff. Oh, it is so deep when he comes up with it. It's like, no way. Like, it's just insanely crazy. I think you would like him, Danny.
Okay. Well, type the name of the channel in so I have it, or send me a message because otherwise. Guys, we're gonna have to close off because we are within a few minutes of being at the end here. Nick was going to do a little crypto talk, but we kind of used up all the 2 hours.
I didn't want to force it.
Yeah, exactly. We're still trying to schedule that in. Internet's been real fucking for the last 2 weeks. Like, whoa, I don't know if it's because everyone's at home or what, but man, not good internet. And we're not the only ones. I'm talking to all kinds of people. One thing I wanted to tell everyone, put this out here, is hold on, going over here. Now, if you can see that, Gaia's Garden is back open again after the Christmas break, and I have a special sales promotion on this month. Well, as while quantities last, on our hemp C60 products have been marked down and on sale. So I wanted to let everyone know that, and they're available in the regular Gaia's Garden shop, which I just realized I misspelled Gaia's Garden. Wow. Okay, right. Let's not screen share anymore because that's embarrassing. I didn't spell my own website's name correctly. And that's the epitome of the weeks that I've been having. Right there.
21, yo.
Yes, the little blue man came and took the N off the end of the word. That's what happened.
Them fucking blue chickens again.
Hey,
always the blue chickens.
Goddamn chickens.
Does that happen to you guys as well so often, the spelling? Because I don't know how it's called in English, but I have the problem with, I can't remember how words are spelled. I do it always on the fly in my head, right? So that's why I make so many mistakes sometimes. But I noticed that not only with me, but also on places where you get really fucking ridiculed for spelling errors and stuff.
Don't make a fucking error.
But
I've been
does that
saying
happen
I've
to
been saying
you?
it for the last couple of years where I go to spell something and I touch type. So when you spell things like certain words, they just come out. Like you don't think about how each letter of the word, you just type the word and then it comes up wrong on spell check. And then you look at it and go, no, that's right. And then you spell check it and there's a different spelling and you're like, no. And that comes up a lot. Now I get it. There's a difference between American and British spelling.
Yeah.
I get it. And I'm not talking about the difference between flavor and flavor or color and color. But there are other words that I've sat there and looked at and gone,
Yeah, the longer you look at them, the worse it gets.
it's not right. It's not fucking right.
Before I shifted, Danny, about was A space B-U-T. About
a bout as in a bout of the flu. And if you're talking about a bout of the flu, it was still the same. It's A
exactly.
B-O-U-T. But to talk about someone, A-B-O-U-T, I think. Oh, fuck, I don't even know anymore. I don't even know anymore.
I have the same problem with like doing my roundtables where I'm talking to Americans and I say a word and they give me shit. And it's like, shut up. You're $23 trillion in debt. Shut your face. It's like, I speak Australian. It's, you know, I'm a terrible speller. So I suck at being a wizard.
What exactly? When Ben's on the show, it's like there's certain words that he always spells after he says them because the Americans don't get it. And he'll say, like, for example, he'll talk about lore and he means L-O-R-E, not law.
Yeah.
But Americans hear him say lore and assume that he's saying law. And he's like, no, I mean lore, L-O-R-E. So I've got him trained now that he spells it. Every time he uses lore, he spells the word afterwards so people understand exactly what he's saying.
Yeah. I've done the same thing where like I went to the shopping center. That's a mall. I actually have to. I do the American. I do the Australian word or staying, and then do the American one because obviously Revolution Radios is American based.
Yeah.
And I just make it easier. I still haven't learned Fahrenheit. You can all just do that yourself.
Yeah. No. I do metric, only metric, and
yeah.
The Americans are up Schitt's Creek. They'll have to get out a calculator. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to close everything down and say goodbye. And my internet is fading quickly as well. Next UnFuckIt discussion is Monday, same bat time, same bat channel. And there will be a crypto discussion. It's just trying to figure out what the fuck the internet's going to do. So we may end up having to do one kind of on the fly. We are going to try and do it in the evening, our evening, so that everyone in North America, if they want, can catch on, and the same thing with Australia. And there goes my internet. The fucking internet. Oh, we're on full-on freeze. Wow, that's just delightful. And that's how you know it's the end of the show. End of the show.
I was going to add in here. I was going to say this.
We can hear you though.
Oh, can you guys hear us? Good, because everything is frozen.
What was it? The Yentl movie?
Yeah.
Like, Papa, can you hear me? And Frozen.
Yeah. We're back. We're back.
No, I was going to say, I'd like to set it up if we're going to do a crypto discussion that I have some people there to kind of ping off of and ask the simple stupid questions that I may overlook, rather than me just looking at the camera and trying to muddle my way through it. So that would be preferred.
It's easier if people are there and can ask the questions. Yes, total basics.
100%.
I know.
I could be a dummy.
Awesome. Amina, you definitely must attend and ask the questions. And I know Nancy's really good at asking questions too, so you guys will definitely have to be there.
All right.
Okay, on that note, this time we're actually going to leave on purpose without being kicked off the internet.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Step isn't the right one. Not too sharp, I got anything left. Look for it at the right time, but it doesn't seem to come. Or do I get distracted by the turbulence? Other frequencies, yes, I really do. bet if I increase